Evening, everyone. It's about 6:15 on Thursday, and this is your closing comment for the day. It was kind of an interesting day. Excuse me, the futures were up, and a big piece of that in the Dow futures was actually Disney, which was up about $9, and that would have added on about $50 worth of Dow points. Um, and there were a couple of other big names that were also following through from yesterday's big rally. However, Disney faded, and there were a bunch of other earnings and names that came into the market looking, pretty good, but really fell victim to selling as the day wore on. So the Dow was actually up 306 at the high, closed down about 250 or about 0.75%. And the market internals were negative at about 2.9 to 1 down. Volume was dramatically lighter. We've been running 5.5, as much as 6 and change billion shares traded. Today we traded only 4.4 billion. So wasn't massive selling that was forcing the market down, but clearly there was an absence of buyers. The claims number this morning, when I did the pre-opening this morning, the claims numbers weren't out. New claims for unemployment, 196,000. Expectation was about 200,000, so a little bit better. And up 38,000 on the continuing claims at 1,688,000. So at least that seems to be going in the direction that the Fed would like to see it. The Nasdaq was up about 160, closed down 121, or a little over 1%. Up 40 to down 40, closing down 36 on the S&P, 0.88%. A little bit bigger loser was the Russell, which was a huge loser yesterday or the day before, down 27, 26 or 1.4. But the biggest loser clearly was the transports, down 2.2%, 326 points. And unlike yesterday, the VIX today added a little. It's back over 20, closed 2071, up 108, but certainly not excessive. For those of you who were not around um, in the 1960s, there was a group, we'll call it the FANG group now, that was called the Nifty 50, and it included all of the biggest high-tech companies like Polaroid, which no longer exists, International Flavors and Fragrances, which does exist, but was down 19% today, and companies like Eastman Kodak, who, basically didn't believe that digital, obviously, was going to take over their business. In any event, International Flavors and Fragrances was one of those Nifty 50. It has been recently as high as about 160. The first week of January, it was 117, closed 112.44 yesterday, and then traded down to $89 and change today, and closed 91.36, down 21.08. The Disney, as I said, started higher. Now, this morning when I did the pre-opening, it had traded as high as 123.88. However, the high for the day, once the market actually opened, was $10 under that at 118, and it closed down on the day, not much, down $1.83, but it closed below 110. So you have a stock that last night and early this morning was trading at 123 and change, and today closed at 109. So that's pretty darn ugly. Google followed through from yesterday's debacle, um, was down about $9 yesterday, was down another $4 today, and actually that was on a rally off the low. The low was 93.63, and so that would have put it down about $6. On the earnings front, we had Win with a beat, 108.59 up 497. So that was pretty decent. We also had in the retail space, we had Lululemon, Ralph Lauren, and Tapestry, which is Coach, all up on the day. I don't think that Lulu reported, but the other two did. After the close, however, Lyft reported. Um, and after yesterday and the day before's positive action from Uber, I would have thought it might have carried over here, but the numbers were just so bad that they couldn't, there was no saving it. Um, it had moved from 1836 in the last couple of days to close yesterday at 1622, down 53. Today, however, it is currently trading at 11 and a half, which is down almost $6 or 35%. I cannot make it clearer to tell you yet again, this is not normal trading. I don't care how desensitized you get to the percentage moves in some of the meme names or some of the IPOs or some of the crypto related things. 20 and 30% moves on these kind of companies is just not normal. It happens at tops and it happens at bottoms where you get more volatility and more velocity in the stock and things get carried away. It is not healthy, so do with that what you wish. Oil was down 41 cents, but it closed a couple of cents from the high and $1.50 off the low. Gold was down 12.20 as interest rates continued to move higher. There was a 30-year bond auction today that kind of sucked, um, meaning there weren't enough buyers. And rates, which had been down this morning, moved back to the upside. The 210 spread uh, continues to be inverted and continues to get worse. It closed today around 83. It had been, I saw it as high as 88. So, um, you know, there will be a recession. Psychologically, I think there is already a recession. I see people, hemming and hawing over, what they're going to buy in a grocery store because prices are so absurd and they are not doing as well as your president said they were doing in his State of the Union address. Dollar was down slightly. Bitcoin was down 875. That's the first kind of big day that we've had on the downside. The bonds were down a half. Silver was down 28 cents. And the net gas actually was up a couple of pennies. And the net gas inventories showed a drawdown of 217, and last week's was 151. So not a build. I know that everybody says there's an excess of inventory, but um, there you go. The AAII numbers came out. Bulls increased 7.6% to 37.5, which is just barely average, long-term average. The Bears were down 9.6 to 25, and the neutral, or I don't have a clue, group, 37.5, up 2%. So there you have it. I'll be back first thing in the morning. I think tomorrow all we have is we have something early. We have, I believe it's the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, which ought to be interesting. I think that it was the consensus is around 65. It was 64.9. That doesn't come out until 10 o'clock. And January's Treasury budget doesn't come out until 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So we'll have to see what that looks like. And the chart on the screen is the S&P. It's up 5.25 or 5 right now for the evening session, which just began about 15 minutes ago. And as you can see on the chart, today was an inside day. Lower high, higher low. Not an excessive move, not a big move at all. But to me, it looks like it's going to test. Um, well, it looks like to me that it's going to test around 39.75, which would be a move of about another 120. May not seem like much, but if you're long, it'll hurt. All right, folks, I'll be back.